Hi everybody, Nancy Hart here, Whole Heart Evolution and your Life Master Consultant. It is indeed Wednesday, and that means it's time for our midweek mindset tune-up. Have you ever found yourself in a place where you've had a conversation with somebody and it just set something off in you? They certainly didn't mean, necessarily mean you any harm, but there was something that was said, a story that was recounted, a new interpretation of something, and it just felt like just something pricked at you. And all of a sudden, with that prick, almost like a prick or a button push, the crazy voices that we all have, by the way, the crazy voices in our head start pinging. And it's like an old tape file comes up with, it could sound anything from, you're not good enough to, how come they don't recognize me for who I am? Kind of the whole victim-y thing, or why didn't that go the way I thought about, or why aren't they thinking of me, or why? There's a lot of victim stuff that can show up, or it can show up as, oh, I'm just not good enough, or those kind of voices. None of them are true, but they are old files in our system, in our body system. Sometimes they're called a paradigm. And for those of you who may not be as familiar with the word, the way I use it here is liken it to the operating system on a computer. There are program files that help the whole doggone thing operate. Some stuff's up on the desktop that you can see and it's readily accessible. Think about that kind of as your conscious mind. And then there's a whole lot of stuff that's been buried deep, or is actually kind of trying to operate the system that's been informed by these files that are buried deep. Kind of the subconscious system, right? And sometimes a situation will come up and that paradigm will just trigger and grab you. Now, what's interesting and what we hope for in those moments is that there may be some tools we have on board to help navigate it. Because honestly, folks, as much study as maybe some of us have done, even coaching work, personal development therapy, anything like that, when we're in the human suit, sometimes we're going to get triggered. Well, I got triggered this morning, and it just kind of surprised and shocked me, and it actually kind of hurt. And I realized as I stepped back and I used a tool, it's called Notice What You're Noticing. Just step back and take a pause and go, look at it from the outside for just a moment. Just pull yourself back and say, hey, what's going on here? What that does in the moment is it helps ratchet whatever that energy, whatever that emotion is around that voice that's coming up, that paradigm that's coming up, to just begin the processing of it. It's a great tool. Just step back and process it. And today, as I was noticing it, I was able to do that and go, well, those are some really old tapes coming up. Boy, they had to reach deep for that one. I thought that one was gone. No, it showed up. But the wisdom came, the maturity came, and understanding, yeah, maybe there's something going on here. Maybe there's something it needs to tell me or alert me to. So I was about to step into a conference, basically a 3-day training that I've been in. And I reached out to some friends. I realized, sometimes picking up the phone's not the right thing to do because it just starts the story again and you start to go down the rabbit hole. And that's not a good paradigm buster, let's just say. Pulling back and looking at it, that's a great start. So I texted a few people that are good partners in this sort of work and said, hey guys, just hold a good thought for me. I'm just navigating some stuff and hold the high ground for me. They said, sure, great. So I felt a little bit of support there. And then I walked into this training today and decided, something, I don't know what all's going on with me because I was still stinging a little bit, but let's just see if I can maybe something will show up in the context of it that will help me put some perspective around it. Because that's ultimately what I was looking for. It's old. It doesn't need to be there. This was a situation that happened 1.5 years ago. Oh, for crying out loud, right? So fast forward to just before lunch. I'm in a business training class with an amazing CEO who has a real gift for taking some really complex concepts and making them very accessible in a way that can actually become a very practical tool for all of us. I have tremendous respect for this guy. And he actually is developing some work around productivity and eliminating waste in the day. And one of the things he was addressing in this concept of waste was one of the things that can become a time sucker for us, or and waste in our productivity. This was all about productivity today. Was accepting paradigms. What had just bit me in the butt this morning? A really nice juicy paradigm, and it was sucking my attention. And it got my attention. I'm like, I'm in the middle of a business class. He's talking about what can suck down your productivity. He's talking about paradigms. He speaks that language, right? And he found a really humorous and wonderful way to explain the way out. What was it? It was a clip from Kung Fu Panda. Yeah. It was the moment where Panda is up on, I think, the top of a mountain or top of a hill. He's really doubting himself. He's having a bad day. His particular paradigm was, I'm just never going to be like everybody else, and I just need to eat. I'm going to eat at it. And the wise old spirit tortoise, who apparently is one of his spirit guides, comes up to him because he's super discouraged and he's hurt. And I think it's Master Ogwe is his name. The tortoise walks up to him and he says this. He said, because and the other thing the Kung Fu Panda is doing is he's really fussing about the future. And he's never going to be able to fulfill what has become his destiny. And he said, okay, listen, don't be too concerned with what was. Don't focus on that. Don't be too concerned with what will be. Be here. Today is the gift. That's why they call it the present. Now, some of us all have heard that. So here's Kung Fu Panda. Here's the wise tortoise. They're talking about a present, being present. That the only place we can ultimately transact, these are my words now, the only place we can ultimately transact is in the present moment. And when I took that and I began to apply it to my situation from earlier in the day, the light bulb just went off for me. I knew I was being offered an opportunity. I'd been wrestling with a couple of things. And this conversation this morning, the paradigms that rose up, and being in the moment allowed me to get clarity around a decision I was looking to make. What I offer to you in all of this is, if you're finding yourself being triggered, if you're finding yourself needing to shift your perspective to find the gift in the present moment today, remember the words of Tortoise and Panda. You too have an opportunity to shift. Let the tortoise and the bear be your guiding light. That the past is done. The present is no longer here. The past is gone. The future is no longer here, is not here yet. And here we are today. Let's be in the present. And let's take the gift of what we learn in that moment and take the next step. Thanks so much, everybody. I'll see you next Wednesday. Remember remember the bear. Remember the turtle. Present moment, that's where we transact. Look for the gift. Bye for now.